was writing it for a couple of years and sort of branching out across all APN newspapers. I got a job as in business development for a corporate PR company in the city, so corporate business relations. So finding different ways. And I encourage a lot of the young players to do that all the time. Finding stuff that isn't the obvious. I'll tell you one of the things I did find interesting was I went to University of Queensland, one of their guys, to help me with a CV. I said, oh look, I'm interested in this sort of position, but can you help me with a CV? Yeah, no worries. He says, yep, he gets my CV. I bring it all in, he looks at it, he said, oh now, okay. So you're telling me you played cricket for 19 years and you've worked in the media, you've done international, you've done broadcasting, you've done written, you've done radio, you've done all these different things, different skills, you're studying, you're doing this. He's gone, well, chronologically, what order was this? I said, mate, it's sort of just all in there over a period of time. And he just could not get it in his head. He just couldn't understand it. He said, I don't know, I can't write you a CV. He seriously thought he couldn't write a CV. He said, well, no employer's going to really understand all this. I said, well, maybe it's more a capability of what I am and what is possible. And so that's one of the issues that I think all sportsmen have, perception. Whilst we haven't been accountants for 19 years, or I wasn't an accountant, or a bricklayer, or whatever, there's a perception out there. And truth be known, the reason why I'm doing the MBA is to change that perception as well. So, one of the things we do with our young cricketers, I know in Queensland we had a policy called learn or earn. So that whilst even though you might be getting paid all right to get out and play cricket for your state, and for some of them who are pretty unskilled people, both in a work sense but also a human sense, some of them, you'd find that some of them were getting paid more than the CFO for Queensland cricket, just with a contract thing or a good year you won, which had a disparity there within that organisation as well. But changing perception. So we try to get the young players, and through the Players Association, we really try and pump this education. It's all there on the table for them now. They'll actually they get paid well, but also there's the opportunities, and it's sort of like the ride's there. It's an easy ride, much easier than it was in my day. Anyways, like all us old blokes like to say. Yep. There's a good question, and this is very topical at the moment in Australian cricket, because I talked about regulation being involved in the game, the way the over-regulation happens. The question was about 10 years ago, there was a lot of interaction between the player and the media, access to the media. So a player could go or a media could say, oh, I want to have an interview, speak to the press manager. Can I just want a one-on-one interview with Ricky Ponting? And the media would check with Ricky, yep, that's okay. The two of them would sit down quietly and he'd have an exclusive, wouldn't he? That's fantastic. He's happy, he's got his exclusive. And we're getting good stuff written because you're finding out about Ricky, the human side, about him as a person. But regulation stepped in, because we love that in Australia. Cricket Australia loves it. Through this over-regulation, all of a sudden they decided that the best way to do this communication was that we'll put one player out in front of all the media. And so, a situation like this, you all work for individual media companies, but they'll roll out one player only, to talk to you. So guess where that was going? Because access was just dropped. Then all of a sudden, the media are going, well, I need something different. So, places like India where there'd be 10 times this many people, just making stuff up. They lost the access, they didn't have that individual relationships happening with the media, and so they thought, well, we'll go and write whatever we want, and it doesn't really matter over there because sometimes rules don't matter. But this is the big thing, this is the massive thing. Now, a lot of the followers, a lot of the people following, sorry, the journalists are the guys following players on Twitter. It's lazy journalism, but because of Cricket Australia and the regulation, the policies they had, it's bred that. So now we've got it in cricket and across all spheres really, is that through Twitter, bang, you know, if Shane Warne says something, a journo can pick it up and he can write it because it's out there, it's fact, it's been what's been said. He can quote it. But this is it's a good thing, I guess, and this is, I don't actually have a Twitter account, and I haven't got a Facebook account either, which I know everyone looking at me thinking, who the hell are you? How slow are you? But the way I sort of see it is I let the early adopters take it off and sort of run with it, weed it out first before I get involved. The problem is, yeah, with the journalists now, they get lazy. So all they have to do is go and just do that. The good thing for the players, and it was explained to me too by someone, a non-cricketer actually, that Twitter gives you the opportunity to stop the story or say no, that didn't happen, and you've got the same access, I guess, and the ability to correct a story or put your fact on it. But yeah, I don't know. I really don't know what the answer is for that. Whether it's a good thing or great thing, but it's like a network, isn't it? That if you haven't got a relationship or you haven't got the access to someone, then it's like it's false, and you're not going to get the best results from it. The other lesson, I guess, that second, I'll leave you going all right, aren't we? Where's Michael? Yeah, we're going good. The other big lesson that I learned out of cricket, and I'm certainly going to take through life, I'm endeavouring to get my 3 children accept this as well, is that nobody sees your situation out of your eyes. So have a think about that. No one sees your situation out of your eyes. As a sportsman, we're constantly in a position where people, like I said, with perception, they're having a look at, they're judging us what we do. Once you get dropped from the selectors, you come back to your friends and family and the close relatives, and your little support group that says to you, mate, I can't believe it, I can't believe they dropped you, that was bullshit, this is, it's rubbish, it's no good. And then you got your close friends that are coming up and they're saying, oh yeah, look mate, that's shocking, you were good, you were great. And you start believing it. You start believing it. You think, oh yeah, I suppose, yep. Yeah. And what I learnt, and not the fact that I went out and told people this, but I found that a lot of people were coming to me and they'd come up and say, oh, mate, I can't believe you got dropped. Kasprowicz, that's rubbish. Initially I thought, oh yeah, look, I sort of didn't think I played all that well, so I can see why, but thanks very much for your support. When I give it back to them, or someone get dropped and you go, sorry mate, I really hear that bad lines. All of a sudden, I've engaged a conversation here and I've invited him to talk about it. So this guy all of a sudden would say, oh mate, I know it's bullshit, because everyone around him's telling him. Everyone's telling him that this is the worst thing, it's the greatest injustice of all time, that he's been dropped. But all of a sudden he's saying, oh mate, yeah, no, it's shocking, isn't it? It's ridiculous, it's that bullshit, and he's wrong, and this and that. I'm standing there thinking, ticking over my head. I was only trying to be polite. You know what? I didn't see it the same way. And what we find is that there's bars, hotels, restaurants, more so bars, country bars, where there's millions of people in there. Maybe tonight we've got maybe over that table there, they're telling each other how lucky they are. But we'll find that it doesn't really matter, because what you find is that no one sees your situation out of your eyes, and even though you think they might, even though you want to tell them how unlucky and you think they're on your side, more often than not, they don't really care. The other thing is that they might disagree. So that's one of my big lessons I learned, and that you are singly responsible for your performance. As a professional athlete, it's easy. I can go out there, have a few beers, go out and play the next day, it doesn't work well. Yeah, okay, write it off. But everyone's doing it. No. It's about presenting yourself and giving yourself the best opportunity to perform in whatever environment it is. So think about it, no one sees your situation out of your eyes, because ultimately no one wants to hear how unlucky you are. Does anyone sort of agree with that, or you disagree? Anyone feel unlucky tonight? Look, the luck is the big thing. I've banned that word from my vocab. Luck. Because when you think about the only team that talks about luck, the only person that talks about luck is the loser, isn't it really? They talk about how unlucky they were. Because you never hear the team that wins on the weekend, you know, in their dressing room going around slapping each other on the back, saying, geez, we're lucky there, we got away with that one. No way. They're too busy, you know, singing a song and dancing around and spraying whatever they got to spray around, because that's what they do. That's what winners do. And I found that with the Australian team. We were over in England in 2005 and the Ashes over there, and that's what happened. It was simply that. We were from an Australian team that in the past had never dealt with luck, never talked about luck. It was the only time I heard the word luck used in the dressing room in the Australian team. Because, this comes back to no one sees it out of your eyes, when you think you're unlucky, you are. Because a drop catch, a bad decision that went against you, all of a sudden, those little moments felt like, you know, the value of those, you felt like you needed them to go your way. And that's what we don't want to do. In life, in business, is hope for luck. That's the worst thing you can possibly do. So that's one of the things that I certainly learned out of that. And sure, this luck does appear, and on some people, you end up getting much better hands than you. Get a handful of aces. But it's with the cards you're dealt that you have to find the best way to use them. And having ownership of that, and understanding how you're going to use that hand, I think is the absolute key. So thank you very much. Any more questions before we keep it really informal, please, because I'm sweating like a troop right now. Sorry. The question was, how do the skills you learn in professional sport come across in a business? And I think they do. I think what I'm finding when I'm studying, that those skills learned there, whilst I haven't got a CV that says I did this in this order, all the skills are there as a package to do anything in a business sense. The example is, for me, the big lesson I learned out of cricket, another one, was teamwork. Finding out about teams, about how teams operate. And I played in great teams, I played in good teams, but I played in some pretty ordinary teams as well. And I've got a simple 4-step plan to creating a great team. It's pretty simple. I found that great teams, all these things existed in great teams. Whilst there's talent, and obviously in a sporting sense you've got some great performers, but the constant thing that occurred in great teams that might not have had the great names and even the great talent, but the things that existed in great teams began with discipline. Number one, discipline. Because when you think about every environment needs rules and consequences. Family. Rules and who's got small children? Rules and consequences, and have been consistent with those things have to be so. It's almost like the basic core skill of any team, of any environment, is rules and consequences. And when teams are winning, which often happens, when teams are winning all the time, we're often neglecting those rules and that basic rule, and we're sort of glossing over the fact that it's okay because we're winning, it's okay. So rules and discipline, number one. Number two was respect. It's amazing, respecting each other. Respecting the fact that, respecting yourself it starts with, in knowing your game, your preparation, respecting that, but respecting your teammate and your other work partners or colleagues. Respecting the fact that, well, they've got a job to do too. Respecting the type of people they are, that maybe their personality,